Deep in the forests of the planet Kravos 4, a man named Elijah lived alone. No neighbors, no calls, no wars. Just the wind and his axe. He cut trees, fished from the cold rivers, and cooked his food over fire like in the old days. His past was buried like bones in the dirt, never spoken of, never remembered. That was how he wanted it. Every night Elijah looked up at the stars. They twinkled like they were hiding secrets. But he didn't care anymore. He had run from that world, from politics, from technology, from people. Now he was just a quiet man. In a quiet place. Until the night the sky caught fire. It started as a strange hum, like metal grinding against itself far above. Elijah stepped out of his wooden cabin, hand on his old hunting rifle. The wind smelled burnt. Trees shook. Then it appeared, a giant, glowing object cutting across the sky like a wounded beast. It spun wildly, smoke trailing behind it. And then boom! The forest lit up as the object crashed just over the northern ridge. Trees fell. The earth shook. Birds scattered. Flames rose. Elijah squinted into the smoke. Something deep inside him whispered, "Don't go." But his legs moved anyway. He packed a water flask, grabbed his rifle, and followed the crash trail. The closer he got, the more the air stung with smoke and strange static. Trees were broken like twigs. A deep groove cut through the earth. Sparks danced on rocks. Then he saw it. A silver pod, half buried, steaming, cracked open like an egg. Inside was light. And something moving. Elijah raised his weapon slowly. "Come out," he said, voice low. The figure that stumbled out was not human. Not completely. She was tall, slim, her body wrapped in golden armor that shimmered even through the soot. Her skin had a slight purple glow under the dirt. Her long hair flowed like liquid silver. And her eyes, huge, glowing with fear and power, locked on him. She fell to her knees. "I need shelter," she said in accented Earth English. "Please." Elijah didn't speak. He stared. Her crown, though cracked, still shined. Her fingers trembled. Blood silver, not red, dripped from her forehead. She looked up again. "They'll find me. Please don't let them." Elijah didn't ask who they were. He lowered the gun and walked forward, slow but steady. "Can you walk?" She nodded. Double quotes, "Then follow me." Back at the cabin, he gave her a blanket, boiled water, and sat silently as she warmed her hands by the fire. She didn't speak for a long time. But when she did, her voice cracked with tired pride. "My name is Sarala. I am the rightful princess of the Lithari Empire." Elijah didn't react. He just tossed another log into the flames. "They tried to kill me," she whispered. "My own guards. A coup. I escaped, barely. But my ship was hit. I think I'm being tracked." Elijah leaned back in his wooden chair. "You brought war to my doorstep." She looked at him, her glow flickering. "I didn't choose this." He stood and walked to the window. Outside, the trees swayed under a strange wind. He knew this kind of trouble. He had seen too much war, too many power games between people who smiled while giving orders to kill. That's why he left. That's why he hid. Now, war had followed him, and it wore a crown. Asterisk by morning. Sarala was already awake, staring quietly at the woods from the cabin window. Elijah watched her without speaking. She had cleaned up a bit, her silver hair now brushed back, her golden armor dented but shining faintly in the firelight. She didn't look like a runaway. She looked like a statue from a palace, but the fear in her eyes told the truth. "They'll come," she said. "I know how they work. They have hunter drones, small, fast, silent. Once they catch my signal, they'll send soldiers, assassins." Elijah stirred the fire with a stick. "Then I should throw you out, let them take what they came for." Sarala didn't flinch. "Yes, That would be smarter. But Elijah didn't move. He just stared at the flame, face hard and silent. She added softly, "You were a soldier once, weren't you?" He didn't answer. Instead, he stood and walked to the back wall of the cabin, pulled down a hidden panel, and opened the metal case. Inside were weapons older than the war she was fleeing: an Earth-made plasma rifle, a shock knife, and an ancient cum scanner. Dusty, yes, but still functional. "You're not the first one to bring war to my door," Elijah said. A soft beep suddenly echoed through the room. The cum scanner glowed red. Sarala tensed. "They found me." Elijah looked at the scanner. "Not just you. This whole forest is being scanned now." Outside, the birds had stopped singing. The forest was quiet. Too quiet. Sarala rose. "I'll leave, now. If I run far enough, they might chase only me." Elijah grabbed her arm. "You wouldn't last 10 minutes.
You're injured, and they know where the pod crashed.
They'll sweep this place with fire if they have to." He moved fast. Opened another compartment in the floor, pulling out a small shield generator, weak, but enough to mask heat signatures in a small area. "I'll hide you underground," he said. "There's a bunker beneath the shed. What about you?" she asked. Elijah gave a faint smile. "Let's see if I remember how to scare people again." He moved quickly, setting up decoy heat signatures around the cabin and burying the generator in the bunker with Sarala. She hesitated before climbing down the hatch. "You don't even know me," she said. "I don't need to. You're hunted." "That's enough." When the hatch closed, the quiet returned. Elijah sat by the fire, rifle across his knees, listening. Minutes passed. Then it came a soft whir in the trees, like wings slicing the air. A shimmer passed through the window. Drone. Elijah didn't move. He kept his breathing slow, eyes focused. The drone hovered outside, scanning, its red eye blinking. Then darted left. Soon, he heard boots crunching leaves. Soldiers. Not local. These men were smooth, efficient, wearing black armor with red visors. Silent signals, no shouting. Real professionals. Elijah recognized the pattern. He had used it once. They were checking the pod wreck, scanning the trail, forming a perimeter. Around the cabin, he counted 4. No, 5. Then one walked straight to the door and knocked. Elijah opened it calmly. "Can I help you?" he asked. The soldier didn't answer, just scanned him with a hand device. "Local settler," another soldier called from the trees. "Human. Records confirm. Ex-military. Off-grid for 12 years. The leader looked at Elijah. "We're searching for a crash survivor. You didn't see anyone?" Elijah narrowed his eyes. "You think I'd help some random ship rat that blew a hole in my woods?" The soldier stepped closer. "Mind if we take a look inside?" Elijah shrugged. "Go ahead. I'll be right here watching." 2 soldiers entered the cabin, scanned everything. One paused near the trapdoor, paused just long enough to make Elijah's grip tighten around his rifle, but then moved on. After a few minutes, they walked out. "Nothing," one said. "No fresh prints, no heat traces." The leader nodded. "She must have kept moving, spread out, sweep north." They vanished into the woods like ghosts. Elijah waited a full hour before unlocking the hatch. Sarala climbed up slowly, blinking. In the firelight, "They were here," she whispered. "They'll be back," Elijah said. She looked at him carefully. "You didn't give me away. You risked yourself." Elijah's voice was quiet. "If they're willing to hunt you this far, there's a bigger game being played. I need to know what it is." Sarala met his gaze. "You won't like it. Try me." Sarala sat across from Elijah as the fire crackled between them. Outside, the forest looked calm again. But Elijah's mind was not. She held a warm cup of boiled roots, her hands still trembling. The golden armor on her shoulders had dark scorch marks, Her once bright silver hair now hung dull and tangled. But her eyes, those glowing violet eyes, were sharp. "I was never supposed to leave the palace," she said. "I was born in chains, pretty chains, but still chains. My marriage was arranged before I could walk." Elijah didn't speak. He listened. Sarala continued. "I'm the last blood daughter of the Lithari throne. But my uncle, Lord Varen, wants the crown. He says our empire must be ruled by force, not peace. He wanted to start a war with the Mrak." Elijah frowned. "Mrak? They're Deathworlders. Even your empire fears them." Sarala nodded. "Exactly. But Varen saw a war as a way to unite the planets under fear. He tried to force me into signing the war treaty as queen-in-waiting. When I refused, he called me a traitor. That same night, my guards turned on me." Elijah leaned back. "So you ran?" "Yes, I had one loyal pilot. He got me off the capital world and to a jump gate. But we were shot mid-jump. My escape pod ejected me to this sector. I didn't choose this world. I didn't even know it was human-settled." Elijah stared into the fire. "You brought a civil war to my backyard. You know that, right?" Her voice cracked, low and honest. "I didn't mean to. I just wanted to live, or die free." For the first time, Elijah softened, just a little. "You ever held a rifle?" She shook her head. "You're gonna need to learn." She blinked. "Wait, you're helping me now?" He stood, pulling out the old plasma rifle and handing it to her. "I didn't fight in 3 wars just to grow tomatoes and die in a forest. You said they'll come again, right?" "Yes. Once they know I'm alive, they'll send a death squad. Maybe even a planetary wipe drone if Varen gets desperate." Elijah raised a brow. "And you're worth that much trouble?" Her voice turned cold. "If I live, I can call the 12 houses and rally them to stop him. If I die, he rules everything." Elijah sighed. "Guess I picked the wrong week to stop caring." He cleared the floor space, grabbed some old training rounds, and showed her the basics: how to aim, how to hold steady, how to brace for recoil. At first, Sarala was clumsy. The weapon felt heavy in her slim arms. But her eyes were focused. Her royal pride didn't allow failure. Hours passed. The stars rose. She hit the first target. Then the second. "You learn fast," Elijah muttered. "I have to." Suddenly the scanner beeped again. This time, faster. Louder. Sarala tensed. "There. Pinging us again." Elijah turned toward the roof. "No, this isn't a drone. This signal's bigger. It's a locator pulse." She frowned. "From where?" Elijah opened a rusted hatch in the wall and pulled out an old satellite feed monitor. He powered it up with a cracked solar cell and connected it to the pulse reader. Screen lit up, showing a red dot glowing and steady. "That's a lander signal," Elijah said. "About 6 clicks northeast. They dropped someone. Or something." Sarala leaned in. "That's too close. If it's Varen's men, they'll find me within hours." Elijah grabbed a pack. "Then we don't wait. What are you doing?" He strapped the rifle over his shoulder. "We go to them first." Sarala blinked. "Are you serious? They're trained hunters." Elijah turned to her with a calm, dangerous look in his eyes. "I used to train hunters." The forest was colder. At night, wind moved through the trees like whispers from the dead. Elijah moved without sound, his steps practiced and careful. Sarala followed close behind, still learning to stay low and quiet. Her armor had been stripped down to only the chest plate and shoulder guards, light enough to move, strong enough to survive a shot. 6 kilometers wasn't far, but in these woods, it felt endless. Elijah's eyes scanned the dark between the trees. If they dropped a lander, it means they're setting up a beacon. Once that beacon activates, it can call in reinforcements from orbit. They'll burn this whole forest if they have to. Sarala gripped her borrowed rifle tighter. Then we destroy it before that happens. He gave a small nod. That's the plan. Soon, they reached a ridge overlooking a narrow clearing. Elijah stopped and crouched. He lifted a pair of cracked binoculars and stared down. Below them sat a sleek black lander with glowing red lights and landing claws like sharpened hooks. Around it, 4 soldiers paced in patrol lines, all wearing the same red-visored armor. As before. But what made Elijah's brow tighten wasn't them dot, it was the thing standing near the beacon, a tall, hunched machine with dozens of twitching arms and long, narrow legs. Its head looked like a metal skull, with no eyes, just scanners. The air shimmered around it. Sarala whispered, "That's a purge unit." Elijah muttered, "Never thought I'd see one of those again." The purge units were illegal in most parts of the galaxy. They weren't soldiers, they were exterminators. No mercy, no talk, no surrender. Once activated, they scanned for DNA, signatures, and wiped out everything that didn't belong. I thought only the Outer Rim syndicates used those, Elijah said. Sarala's voice dropped. My uncle doesn't follow rules anymore. If that thing scans this forest, it won't just find me, it'll erase you too. Elijah slowly pulled out an old EMP grenade from his belt. Then we take it out before it boots up. Just? That one grenade? She asked. It's enough if I get close. You'll die. I'll die anyway if that beacon activates. He stood, adjusted his gear, and started down the slope. Sarala reached out. Wait, let me help. Elijah paused. You said I had to learn, she whispered. Let me cover you. I won't miss. He gave her one long look. Then nodded. Elijah moved like a shadow, weaving between the trees, crawling across logs, avoiding fallen branches. He was 30 meters from the lander now. The soldiers hadn't seen him. The beacon was humming. The purge unit was powering up. Legs locking into place, chest plates unfolding. He had only seconds. Sarala knelt on the ridge, breathing slow, finger on the trigger. Her sight was locked on the soldier to the left of the beacon. Elijah crept closer. He stopped just behind a rock dot, then a twig cracked underfoot. One of the soldiers snapped his head around. Movement! The others turned their rifles. The purge unit scanners flared to life. Sarala fired. The first soldier dropped before he could shoot. Elijah rolled out from behind the rock, tossing the EMP grenade at the beacon. The blue light pulsed once, twice, then exploded with a blinding flash. The beacon died. The purge unit froze, limbs spasming as its power cut off. Sparks flew from its joints, but now the rest of the soldiers were charging. Elijah ducked, fired. Once, twice, another soldier dropped. Sarala took down the third from above. But the fourth came fast and hard, aiming right at Elijah. Elijah raised his rifle, but the soldier was quicker. Bang. The enemy fired. Elijah flinched, then blinked. Soldier dropped. A burn mark glowed in his chest. Behind him stood Sarala, panting, rifle still smoking. I told you I wouldn't miss, she said. Elijah gave her a nod. Good shot. Together, they walked toward the ruined beacon. The lander still hissed. Engines cooling. The purge unit was twitching but dead. Sparks flickered from the broken antenna. Elijah knelt beside the beacon and pried open its black box. Inside was a chip glowing faintly. This is a tracking relay, he said. They weren't just scanning for you. They were trying to send a message back. Sarala's face grew pale. If that chip stayed active another minute, they'd have known exactly where you are. Elijah finished. They destroyed the chip. The sky above them was quiet for now, but both knew this wasn't over. Elijah and Sarala didn't speak much on the way back. The forest felt colder now, the trees quieter. They had destroyed the beacon and killed the purge unit, but they both knew it was just the beginning. Elijah had lived long enough to understand. What came next? More ships, bigger ones, and more death. As they reached the edge of the cabin clearing, Sarala stopped. We can't stay here anymore. I know, Elijah said. This place was never meant to last forever. They packed. Quickly, Elijah only took what mattered: his weapons, his gear, a few tools. Sarala kept her armor on, even the damaged pieces. She didn't want to look like a princess anymore. She looked like someone who had survived. Where do we go? She asked as he loaded the bags into a hidden storage sled behind the cabin. There's a man I know, Elijah said. Name's Cray. Used to be a smuggler. He owes me. Can we trust him? No, but he hates the Empire more than I do. That might be enough. They traveled south, avoiding drone patrol zones, moving through dense thickets and old dry riverbeds. Elijah used every trick he'd learned from past wars, masking their heat, spreading false scent trails, even setting small traps behind them. It was exhausting, but Sarala didn't complain. Not one stop. By the second night, they reached a series of deep caves hidden in the cliffs. Elijah lit a signal fire, 3 short bursts, 1 long and 2 fast flashes. It was an old code, one only smugglers and outlaws remembered. They waited. Nothing. Then, just after midnight, a quiet hum filled the air. Sarala's hand went to her weapon, but Elijah held out his arm. It's him. A small camouflaged craft appeared between the cliffs, hovering low and silent. Its door opened with a hiss, revealing a short, stocky man with gray skin, yellow eyes, and a wicked smile. Elijah Trent, the alien said, stepping out. I thought you were dead. Still breathing, Elijah replied. Barely. Cray's eyes landed on Sarala. He whistled. Now this explains a lot. I need a favor, Elijah said. Cray laughed. You always do. He led them inside the ship. It was cramped but warm, filled with old tech, spare weapons, and strange glowing bottles. Sarala sat near a wall of blinking lights while Elijah explained everything. When he finished, Cray scratched his chin. So, you've got a fugitive princess, an empire hunting her, and now they know she's somewhere on this rock. This planet's about to be glassed. I need a way off-world, Elijah said. Someplace safe, quiet. There's no such place anymore, Cray said. Your little royal here? She's not just a target. She's a symbol. If she lives, Varen's power slips. He won't stop until she's ashes. Sarala looked down. Her voice was quiet. Then maybe I should give myself up. No, Elijah said sharply. Cray raised an eyebrow. Didn't take you for the noble type, old man. Elijah turned to Sarala. You have a voice, a future, and a reason to fight. Giving up isn't survival. It's surrender. Sarala met his eyes. And you? Why are you still helping me? He didn't answer. Cray snorted. Well, lucky for you both, I've got a contact on Dreva Station, neutral ground. Expensive to land, but it's off the Empire's grid. If she lays low, she might buy enough time to send a message to the houses. That's all we need, Elijah said. A chance? Cray leaned back. Then we move tomorrow. But one more thing. He tossed a small round device onto the table. It blinked blue. I picked up a signal while landing. A second lander arrived northwest quadrant. Bigger, heavier, not soldiers, something else. Hunters? Elijah asked. No, bounty crew. They've got a gene-lock scanner tuned to her DNA. Sarala paled. They know I'm still alive, Cray nodded. And they're not waiting. They're moving fast. Elijah's jaw clenched. Then we move faster. Sarala stood. I won't run anymore. Cray blinked. What? I'll fight. I'll survive. But I won't run. Not again. Elijah looked at her, something like pride in his eyes. For the first time since the crash, Sarala didn't look like a lost royal. She looked like a warrior. Asterisk, the smuggler ship lifted off before dawn. Elijah sat near the hatch, watching through the small window as the forest faded below them. He didn't speak. Sarala sat across from him, tightening the straps of her reassembled armor. She had washed, eaten, and slept, but her eyes still carried the fire of someone who had made a choice. She wasn't running anymore. Cray piloted from the front, grumbling to himself while tapping the control panels. "We've got 20 minutes. Until we hit the Drava system gate. After that, we're clear." But Elijah didn't relax. "Something's wrong," he said. Cray scoffed. "Always is. That's the galaxy." Elijah stared at the radar display. "No, look." He pointed. At a faint red dot blinking behind them, Cray's smile dropped. "Tail." Sarala stepped forward. "Is it the bounty crew?" Cray pressed a few buttons. Bigger than a bounty ship, military-grade, long-range guns, fast engines. Elijah's voice was low. "They sent a battle cruiser." Sarala's face went pale. "My uncle. He's breaking all the laws. That ship shouldn't be here." "He doesn't care anymore," Elijah said. "He wants to finish this now." Cray spun in his chair. "I can get us to Dravis, but they'll fire the moment we exit hyperspace. Unless what?" Elijah asked. "There's a defense satellite near the gate," Cray explained. "Abandoned but old Lithari tech. Still has a pulse cannon if it's working. If we get there, I can hack it to shoot our tail. But I'll need time." Elijah nodded. "We'll buy you time." "You? Mean we?" Sarala asked. Elijah looked at her. "You said you weren't running." Sarala grabbed her rifle. "Then let's make them regret chasing us." Cray dove the ship low, entering the outer edge of the asteroid field near the gate. The cruiser followed, massive engines burning through the void. It began charging weapons, red pulses glowing under its belly. Inside the smuggler ship, alarms blared. Cray yelled over the noise. "I'm starting the hack. Hold them off." Elijah and Sarala moved to the rear hatch. There was no room for error. The only way to slow the cruiser was to damage its scanners and force it to shoot blind. Elijah handed Sarala a magnetic launcher loaded with EMP spikes. "Hit the lower scanner pods when I say," he said. "Aim true." Sarala nodded. The hatch opened. Cold vacuum pulled at them, but their suits locked tight. Elijah clipped his tether and launched onto the top of the ship's outer hull. Sarala followed, crawling across the metal, windlass and sharp. Above them, the enemy cruiser loomed. It began to fire. Bolts of plasma streaked past one, grazed the hull, and rocked the ship. Elijah nearly slipped, gripping a rail with his bare hand until his gloves locked in place. "Now!" he shouted. Sarala took aim and fired. The EMP spike shot through space and stuck to the cruiser's lower pod. It sparked, then shut down in a burst of blue lightning. One scanner blind. She hit the second. The cruiser's fire turned wild, missing wide. Inside, Cray shouted, "I've almost got control of the satellite." Elijah crawled back toward the hatch, but a blast hit the ship's side, tearing a small hole through the panels. Sarala screamed as her tether snapped. "Elijah!" She drifted slowly but surely into open space. Elijah dove. He grabbed her wrist just before she slipped beyond reach. His tether stretched to its limit, pulling tight. For a moment, they floated together, still surrounded by stars. She looked at him, eyes wide. "Why didn't you let go?" "Because I don't leave people behind," he said. He pulled her back with effort, inch by inch, until they tumbled into the hatch. Cray's voice cut through the comms. "Got it." In the distance, the old satellite came to life. A long-forgotten cannon swiveled slowly toward the cruiser. Then it fired. A Beam of blue plasma ripped through the enemy ship's flank. Fire exploded along its hull. The cruiser spun. Engines dying. Communication lost. Elijah and Sarala watched from the window as the ship drifted into the asteroid field, burning. Cray chuckled. Remind me to never cross either of you. Sarala sat down hard, breath shaky. Elijah handed her a drink pouch. We made it, she whispered. Not yet, Elijah replied. But we've got a chance now. The smuggler ship dropped out of hyperspace near Drava Station, an old neutral spaceport floating between empires. Once built for diplomats, now it served as a last refuge for outlaws, exiles, and those who wanted to disappear. Elijah stood by the window, staring at the station's blinking lights. His jaw was tight, shoulders heavy. He had been running from the galaxy for years, but now it had found him again. Behind him, Sarala was quiet. She wore a plain cloak over her armor, her glowing violet eyes hidden under a hood. She looked less like a princess now and more like someone ready to fight for a new future. Cray brought the ship into the docking bay. We won't get a second chance. You sure about this, princess? Sarala nodded. Yes, it's time the galaxy hears the truth. They stepped out onto the station platform. It smelled like old oil and cold steel. Dozens of species moved through. The hallways, traders, mercenaries, refugees. No one looked too long. No one asked questions. Elijah kept close to Sarala. He watched every corner, every shadow dot in a hidden meeting room. Cray connected Sarala to the station's broadcast node. It wasn't much, but it could reach the 12 houses, the noble families scattered across the Lithari Empire. Sarala had one chance to convince them she was alive, and worth following. She stood before the holorecorder. Her hands trembled once. Elijah placed a hand on her shoulder. You've got this. She gave a small smile and began to speak. My name is Sarala of House Viren. I am the last living daughter of the true royal line. I bring proof of my uncle's betrayal, of his crimes, his warships, and the purge units he unleashed on our own people. Images appeared beside her. The wrecked lander, the beacon chip, the burned forest. Elijah had recorded everything. I do not seek revenge, she continued. I seek peace. But peace can only return if we stand together, if we stop Varen before he destroys what's left of our worlds. The transmission ended. The room fell silent. Then Cray spoke. That signal just bounced across 6 relay satellites. You'll have your answer soon. But before anyone could speak again, the station alarms blared. Unidentified ship approaching. A voice shouted over the comms. Fast, no transponder. Elijah ran to the nearest screen. His face hardened. It's him, he said. Varen's personal ship. Sarala's eyes widened. Already? How? Cray cursed. Your message reached someone fast. But so did his spies. The station shook as the warship began to dock by force. We can't fight him head on. Elijah said. Sarala stood tall. We don't have to. We just have to hold the line. Long enough. She stepped into the corridor. Elijah followed without hesitation. The enemy soldiers stormed through the docking doors, red-visored armor, black weapons raised. But this time, Sarala didn't hide. She stood in the middle of the hallway. Stand. Down, she shouted. I am your true heir. The soldiers hesitated. Some glanced at each other. Then one of them lowered his weapon. More followed. Behind them, Varen himself appeared tall, cold, wrapped in regal black armor with silver lines. His face twisted in anger. You think they'll follow you? He spat. You're weak. You've always been weak. Sarala stepped forward. Maybe. But they still chose me. Elijah raised his rifle. You're done, Varen. Varen drew his blade a glowing red. Energy saber and charged. Elijah met him head on. They clashed in the center of the station hallway. Sparks flew. Elijah blocked the first strike, ducked the second, and countered hard. But Varen was strong too. Strong, he knocked Elijah to the ground and raised his blade, but Sarala stepped between them. With calm eyes, she held up the old shock knife Elijah had given her. Varen laughed. "You wouldn't dare." She drove it into his chest. He gasped, stumbled, fell. The room went silent. The remaining soldiers dropped their weapons. Elijah sat up, breathing hard. "Remind me not to get on your bad side." Sarala smiled weakly. "You saved me. I only returned the favor." Cray stepped out of the shadows, blinking. "Well, that was dramatic." Over the next few hours, the station was secured. Messages poured in from the 12 houses. The call had been heard. Sarala's speech had worked. She had followers now. Hope had returned. Later, as the ship prepared for departure, Sarala found Elijah standing near the edge of the dock. "They want me to come back," she said. "Lead them. Rebuild." He nodded. "You should." She hesitated. "And you?" "I'm just a hermit, remember?" he said. "I don't belong in palaces." She stepped closer. "You do belong with me. If you want." Elijah looked at her, at the stars beyond the window. Then back to the woman who had changed everything. "All right," he said. "But no royal titles." She smiled. "Deal." Together, they stepped onto the ship. A princess and a hermit ready to change the galaxy. And for the first time in years, Elijah wasn't running from the world. He was walking into it beside someone who believed in him.